Hello, everyone. We are on episode 30 of Restitching the Tapestry.
This is a 30 balloon.
Ari has celebratory 30 as a balloon. Yay! I love it.
They're supposed to be balloons. You can see them. I guarantee you can see them.
Ari deserves major props for the balloons because I would have never thought of that idea. And we're just so excited that we've not even been doing this for a year, and we're on episode 30 already. So I think it's monumental. We've had a lot of really great conversations together and with all of you, and we are just excited to keep this going. So far, we have plotted out the next several episodes. We have up until like 44 episodes planned out so far. And every few weeks we come up with a few more ideas. We just have like these little planning sessions where we just come up with some ideas of fun things that we can talk about. So we're super thrilled. Ari, how are you feeling about 30 episodes?
I just can't believe that we've come up with this many ideas.
I know. And when you think about it, we've put in we have put in quite a bit of work too. Because if any of you, one of these days we'll have to do a share screen and show you like our note pages so you can see like
Oh, we'll
how
crash the screen. Like, I don't think we'll be able to like show like the
probably
original
not.
notes
Yeah.
even.
Yeah, we have Google Docs so long that it especially plays hell with Ari's computer, and we don't want any crashes happening on us. So before we
But
get
maybe like you could share it. Like
we could try at least, and if it goes awry, well, at least it'll be funny, right? So let's do a few like shameless plugs first before we get to talking about our topic today. So if you've been following my social media, you may have seen my recent announcement that I'm going to be reviving a series that I've had people asking me to start again. I'm going to be reviving The Mundane Life of a Gay. And it's probably only going to be like a couple of times a month. They're going to be shorter episodes than this, but that show is essentially where I just talk about like random things, philosophical things, nerdy things. It could be anything basically. So like I think it'll be fun, hopefully. And I'm also going to be doing another series. I think this one's going to be pre-recorded though, where I will go back in time and react to old YouTube videos that I've done like a decade ago. So some of
oh
it will be
boy.
cringeworthy. It'll be cringeworthy for sure. And I think it's going to be entertaining. Let's hope. So any plugs for you, Ari? Do you have anything that you're planning on doing that you want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to start doing some reviews of monster movies and some horror flicks, and then I'm going to start doing. I'm not sure if I'm going to start a new channel for my poetry videos and just start breaking off. So I'm still kind of in the planning process of that right now. Um, and then I'm gonna just keep on with the daily vlogs, and then
Yay. Did you freeze? I don't know. Oh, can you hear me now?
yeah. Did I freeze?
Okay. I think one of us froze. Somebody froze. So so that sounds exciting. I'm really excited. I love your daily updates. I love your poem videos, and I am particularly excited about monster movie reviews. You know, I'll always sign up for that. So okay, so we have RP tuning in, we have Shayna, Bear and Me is here, we have Leo. Welcome to our show tonight. It's good to see all of you. So tonight our topic is personal obsessions, and we wanted to talk about one that like this topic because it could be potentially funny. And I don't know, we'll just see where it goes from here. Before, of course, we get started, I would like to read our show's mission statement. So, Many witness different atrocities, large or small, that fray the social fabric around us, and much of the time, many may feel powerless and know not how to address such things. This fray has gotten worse with the rise of social media, being able to share innate trauma collectively as it goes viral, and it kind of allows us to share in this collective grief and outrage. So we often ask ourselves the question of what can we do to mend the communities that have seen like considerable tragedies, most of which privileged groups have caused, and who those groups don't often admit that they are personally involved. So our goal with this show is to work on restitching the tapestry together through conversation, creativity, and action. And when it comes to thinking of social groups, we specifically wanted to do an episode on personal obsessions because sometimes, I don't know, like if you're like me, like if you've had like any personal obsessions or fixations, they can be kind of, I don't know, like they can cause you to kind of be marginalized in a group. And interestingly enough, Leo asks personal obsessions to what extent? We're mostly, I think, talking about like shows that we're obsessed with, fandoms that we're obsessed with, hobbies and things, so on and so forth. Those as personal obsessions. So, so Ari, where should we begin with talking about personal obsessions?
Well, before we get into obsessions, can we just talk about the
Oh,
horrible
right.
thing that's happening in Texas right now? Because oh boy,
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Texas is a disaster right now, and my heart goes out to Texas. And Ted Cruz is just not doing a thing about Texas. And did he go to Cancun? Did he really go to Cancun?
Yes, and then after he got criticism, he came back. So I just like my heart goes out to Texas, and I really hope that everybody's okay.
Well,
And
my
like,
sister's in Texas right now too, and she was like, my power went out for a little while, and like, it's really cold here. I had to bust out my winter gear, and she said it's just so freaking cold and snowy, and like, this isn't supposed to be Texas.
yeah, like it is pretty mind-boggling what's happening. And honestly, like going back to our environmental episode, like if this doesn't support the fact that global warming is a thing, I don't know what does, because global warming affects weather patterns, not just warming in general, right? Which
Yeah.
explains why certain areas are having like unbelievably cold weather and other areas are having unbelievably hot weather. But like I know one of many people's big concern with Texas is the infrastructural issues that led to this disaster, and the lack of preparation for something like this, and the infrastructural damage that's happened as a result, whether it be pipes bursting, electricity going out, like mass blackouts, electric companies selectively doing brownouts in areas, and it's really unsettling. Um and of course, I'm sure many of you have seen these posts across social media, but like it's widely known that Texas is on its own, what is it, like it's on its own like electricity interconnection, separate from um the western side of America and the eastern side of America. So that's really isolated them from like the support that they need in order to troubleshoot a
Yeah, they
disaster
tried to
like.
blame the windmills, and it has actually to do with the natural gas freezing in the pipes.
Yes. Mhm. Yep. And the truth is, like, they just because they're so severed from the rest of the country when it comes to that part of infrastructure, like, that's I mean, that's left them with a limited amount of resources and innovation in order to fix these problems. So, I think from here on out, I think they're gonna definitely reassess how things function there. Um, because if something like this happens again, that's going to be really unsettling. And considering how many natural disasters happen in Texas, you would think this would have been resolved by now with like the catastrophic floods that have happened and the hurricanes that have happened the past few years, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So,
but I guess it's a little bit of a different beast when you get phrasing involved because
oh yeah.
like cold really affects pipes differently than like a flood, say.
Oh, it does for sure. Oh yeah. It's just like the busted pipes led to floods, and it's like there's like multiple layers of disaster happening.
Yeah.
Leo's like, um, Texas has its own electrical grid. They won't integrate into the large nationwide grid system because Texas is Texas. Dolphins and Wheels is here. It's good to see you. Is isn't it the governor's fault? I'm not sure. I've seen statements about that. I've seen like I saw what was this? Some mayor made some sort of statement about like haven't I done enough for the people? Why are you blaming me for blah blah blah? And it's like this is not the time. Like
So
if
like it's a time for action, not to pass blame. Like couldn't you like do something?
yeah, like if you have people who are upset, like try your best to make a difference in the situation. Don't like redirect blame on your constituents. That just seems to be the exact opposite thing to do, you know? So anyway, like I do hope that everything goes well down there, and I hope everybody is safe right now. I know like I've been really sad too because I've been on TikTok and I've been watching these like videos of people rescuing animals. Like there was this video of, oh my God, like this video made me cry. Ari, it was midnight and I'm just laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep and I just start crying over this video on TikTok. It was a very sad experience. I like am scrolling through TikTok and suddenly this dude's TikTok pops up and there's this robin, this bird sitting on a porch railing and it looks like it's asleep and he pokes it and it just falls on the ground limp. It
No.
froze while standing on the porch railing. And these dudes are like
No.
laughing in the video and I'm just like, how is that funny? That's so horrible. Like, oh my God. And
That's
like
so messed up.
I because my partner was laying next to me. I looked over at him and I'm like, babe, if it gets really cold and there are birds that need to come in, I'm gonna save all the birds. we're gonna have
Save the birds.
we're gonna have a house full of birds because I will not let birds be dying. So I was just like, the poor animals in Texas too, like they are adapted for a different type of weather to have a freak storm happen like that. Like that's sad.
Oh no, that's
Oh
terrible.
yeah, like TikTok's been flooded with videos of like people rescuing stray dogs and possums and stuff like that who are like freezing to death down there. And I'm just like, that is no, the animals must not suffer, nor should the humans, but no, nobody should suffer. I feel horrible that I said the animals first before humans, but you know, hey,
But the animals can't help it.
right? I feel like humans have access to great, well, most humans have access to greater resources. Animals do not. Oh no. Oh, Leo says a bunch of sea turtles apparently got cold shocked from the weather. I remember hearing about that at one of the zoos down there. I would cuddle the turtles. I would snuggle them. All right. Anyway, so that is our Tex. We just needed to talk about Texas for a moment because that's obviously people have been in danger, and we just really hope that everybody stays safe um and is well right now after all of that. So before we start talking about personal obsessions, I want to preface by saying that our definition of personal obsessions again basically consists of hobbies and stuff like that, like things that we just kind of gravitate to and fixate on. We're not talking about personal obsessions like, you know, not bathing ourselves for weeks because we're on some quest to find something, you know, or whatever, right? But That was a horrible example, but I can't think of any other example of what a bad personal obsession would be. Um,
Um,
Hoarding, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess I hoard some things depending on the situation. But so before we talk about our specific personal obsessions, I do have a discussion question for us. And my discussion question is, are personal obsessions wrong or bad?
I mean, it's just like it's just a bit of fun if you like don't make it your entire life. It's just like something that lives rent free in your head for a while, and it's just like this is something I'm like really into, and like this is something I really like and I really enjoy. I'm like, why can't you enjoy something for a while and like have it like be part of like your inner life and be like whatever, like have it
Yeah.
live rent free.
Yeah, I like the phrase like living rent free. I think so long as a personal obsession doesn't harm yourself or harm other people, I think it's perfectly fine, right? So, I just wanted to start by talking about that a little bit because I know everyone's definition of personal obsessions might be different. So, Ari, right now, what would you say your biggest personal obsession is?
Oh, my first personal obsession is The Crown. I just finished it with my sister. Holy crap, The Crown. It's so good. It's so good.
That's on Netflix, isn't it?
It's on Netflix, yeah. Um, it's historical drama about the Queen and the Queen's family and the Queen's life. And it starts when she's a young queen. She's probably like 20. And it goes until she's like in her 50s, like the 80s.
Oh, wow. So that covers some extensive territory.
Yeah, so it goes quite a ways. And so it goes through like all of these history moments and just like all of this like trials and tribulations through her family and like just everything she's been through. So good. It's so good. It's my sister said that I tend to see like the happy moments and stuff, but like my sister said the show is really sad.
Ugh. I mean, I'm sure it has its sad qualities to it, right?
But no, it's really sad. Like the family
Oh.
history of the family Windsor is really sad. Like,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really see it, but like, it's really sad. I was like, but there's this, and she's like, but no, it's really this. I'm like, but there's this, and then she goes, but there's really this. And so like, it's actually like really sad, but it's actually like really amazing. But it's like so good that you don't really notice the fact that like it's really tragic. But it's like because it's so good. But it's like, oh, it just lives rent free in my head. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So, speaking of shows, so WandaVision has been the one that I've been really obsessed with. So, okay, those of you who know me and know my fixation with certain Marvel characters, you know that Scarlet Witch, or her human name Wanda Maximoff, is my favorite Marvel character because she's so unique. Um, well, she's been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films since Avengers: Age of Ultron, and played by the wonderful Elizabeth Olsen. And I've been wanting her character to stand on her own because she's not had her own movie. She's featured heavily in a lot of the films and has crucial roles, but never had a movie of her own, like Captain America or Iron Man or whatever, you know. But they gave her this entire series that they're doing on Disney Plus called WandaVision, and to not spoil it entirely, basically, this show shows us just how powerful this character actually is, because in the Marvel universe, Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful characters, like terrifyingly powerful. And I've been just nerding out over how, because I'm a huge comic book nerd too. That's one of my other personal obsessions. I'm a huge comic book nerd, and it really honors the comic books, like few different storylines in comic books. So obviously they're using this show to kind of set up the rest of the how the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to take shape. So I am super excited. If you have not watched WandaVision yet, it's really fun, and it not only does it honor the comics, it honors classic sitcoms from the 1950s all the way up to now. It's doing a lot. It's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to process, but it's fun to do so. So, um, that is on Disney Plus. So if you should check out WandaVision for sure. Um, what is your next one?
Bridgerton. Oh my God,
Oh
Bridgerton.
Lord, Bridgerton.
It takes place in like 1800s Regency. It's so good. So it follows the household of the Bridgertons as they go into society for looking for well, she's looking for a husband, and she meets, what's his name, what's the
Oh,
lord's name? I can't remember his name. Lord something or another.
Lord
Uh,
Hottie.
Lord Hottie. He is Lord Hottie. and uh, uh, and basically, they start pretending that they're in a relationship when they are not, and it just goes from there.
You
And
know, when I was watching all of that, I think we all knew where it was going. Like we knew, and we were secretly being like, yeah, woo. Like,
so, what was your favorite part of it? I love the costumes, which can be, it depended, because the costumes were like really good to really bad depending, but like the costumes were pretty good at certain times. Um, I also really liked the drama of it all because it's like a Harlequin novel.
for me, it was like Pride and Prejudice X-rated version.
It really was, yeah.
Like I really do like, okay, so my favorite part of it was like I really feel like a lot of these characters are trying to break some kind of barrier within themselves. Like if we look at thematically, like that's what I really enjoyed, but I also loved how they would take and incorporate really popular pop songs and turn them into like these baroque pieces
Oh my God, I love that too. That was so
with
amazing.
yeah, and I love that the entire show is narrated by this writer, like this female writer who is like dishing the tea on everybody in the community.
Did you guess who it was before they showed who it was?
Kind of, yes. Like I like
Totally guessed. I totally called it. I was
yeah,
like,
like I had a feeling, like I had a feeling it was between a couple of people, because the whole purpose of this first show was kind of like of this first season was this mystery of like who is this female writer who is stirring this trouble, and like publishing these things that even like the royalty reads, because they are just committed to the drama of everything. So
no, the first time the person said, I don't care, I was like, oh, it's them. It's that person. I was like, oh, I called it. I called it.
yeah. So if any of you watch Bridgerton, we certainly hope that you go through the same process we do, and that like suspense. I think that's why like we both loved Bridgerton, and that's another reason why I love WandaVision, is because both of those shows are very much about suspense. I'm gonna look at the comments really quick because I'm like way behind on the comments. Leo's current fixation is finding, actually looking into restoring, repairing, and recovering umbrellas. I think that's really cool.
That's a cool obsession to have.
Umbrellas are so artistic sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Lagiacris, I'm gonna forever pronounce your name wrong, my friend. The Terminator. Sorry if this is off topic, but I'm working on a series of kaiju monster hunter creature hybrids I made. I've already made videos on 3 of them. Ooh, I'll have to check those out. And one of them, there's a Mothra combination. You know that that's one of my personal obsessions, so you knew what to go for with that. So Shayna's, my personal obsessions are not necessarily personal, as a lot of people know. I'm obsessed with Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. And Lord of the Rings brought my fiance to me. I am also obsessed with Lord of the Rings. I could do like five episodes of this show talking about that. But we won't go. I won't be that unhinged. But yeah, going back to Bridgerton, I guess did we ask the question yet of why it really stuck with people? Like, because I've seen shows similar to this before that really haven't caught on, but this one really stuck. Why
I
do you
think
think
it has that it factor. Like it's just it has like it takes all of these things like the costumes and the storyline and the characters and just it puts them in this soup of like just really just amazing likeness and just like puts it together in a way that like is it feels fresh and it's not just like some Elizabethan story. It feels like it could be about today, like a story about today, but it's set in a time period that's back then. So like it doesn't feel like it's an or a Regency story. It feels like it's set in our time, but it's back in Regency era because they're using bright colors and they're using um they're they're
there's
doing
great
sorts of
representation? Like that's important too. That like obviously back during that era, you wouldn't see representation the way it's depicted in the show.
although they
Well,
do queer bait, but that's another story.
yeah, yeah, that is another story, and I do have my issues with that. It kind of
We're going to talk about that in another episode, but
that would be a great episode to talk about. See, we're already coming up with new episode ideas. Look at us go.
we actually do have that for another episode.
We do have that listed?
Yes, we do.
Oh my god, we do. Anyway, my bad. I'm just getting so overzealous about all our topics that I'm getting them mixed up now. Um, but I do think that the creators of Bridgerton were very calculated in what they chose to do that, connects it to the modern audience for sure. Um, and I think that's refreshing, and I think that a lot of people do have like a very keen interest in like that Elizabethan era, like that Victorian-esque imagery, storytelling, societal dynamics, so on and so forth. Hmm.
But it feels fresh. Like it feels like it could be made today because they're using all these like pops of color that they didn't have during the time period, and they're using like societal norms that are not indicative of the era, and they're using like just it feels like it feels different. Like it feels like because they're treating people and it feels sort of like fantastical, like that you could go to a boxing match and then the boxer who was in the boxing match would go to uh the ball at the end of the night and like that's totally normal like in that universe, but like in the real world that would never have happened.
Right. I think that the show does a great job of drawing attention and emphasizing very toxic gender dynamics and gender roles. And it, like, I think that it does it in order to break them down in some way because we can kind of see them being broken down as the season progresses. But like, I think the show kind of makes fun of like extreme gender roles and gender dynamics. Um, and like, I mean, because you can definitely tell there's a lot of like toxic masculinity present in some of the characters. There's a lot of toxic femininity present in some of the characters. And there are characters who are like literally on the in between who are afraid of being who they are because of these, you know, extremes that are present. So like it's really like I was really drawn in seeing that dynamic because I know when I first started watching it, because my partner had first started watching it because he loves shows like this. And it like the first episode, I was just why am I doing this? Like what am I doing? Why are these people having sexual relations in a garden? Like, what's going on? And then suddenly I got invested and I was just like, okay, like
I
these
think
people are having sexual
favorite
relations in a garden.
my favorite scene is when she punched that dude out.
Yes. Yep. I have a lot of favorite scenes. I
There are a lot of favorite scenes, yeah.
I like honestly I would have to probably go back and revisit episodes to recall specific favorite scenes, but um oh, who's that one lady who is like the mentor of um Lord Hottie? I can't remember anybody's names. I feel horrible.
I can't remember anybody's names. Like it's just because it all just melts together after a while because you've just been like sitting there watching it. You just sit there and binge watch it for like and then it just like all floats together.
All I know is that I aspire to be that sassy mentor lady who is like I don't know if she's a governess or a duchess. Like she just seems like a governess or duchess of something important and I can't remember what it was, but suffice it to say my goal is to be this human being.
We're personally obsessed with this, but we don't know their names. Sassy Duchess Lady.
Yes. Yep, sassy duchess lady. That should be my drag name, sassy duchess lady.
We probably should have looked up the names of these people.
I know, like to be fair though, we have so many like we do have quite a few shows listed. I think we have a lot to get through. Um I adore you guys watching. Um I should mention about my series, my art is rather sloppy, so heads up. You know, don't worry about that. Like art is art, my friend. I can guarantee you that your art is better than mine. My like if I were a 5-year-old drunk on cough medicine, my 5-year-old self was better at art than I am at 32.
I'm obsessed
So,
with art. I love art.
you know, this is a perfect transition into talking about art. So, take it away. I know we're kind of bouncing around, but
Oh my god. Good art, bad art. I love art. I love art. I think that anyone who gets up in the morning and just makes art. I love art. I try to get my sister to make art. She has a painting sitting here. I'm like, yeah, make art. Make art. Like get up, make art. Like I make art and I love making art, but like and like my sister is an outside artist. She's never studied. She's never done anything. But like I encourage her to make art all the time because I think that art is like the one thing that like connects people to like just doing something, and it's just like a personal obsession. Like, I think that like everybody would be less stressed out if they made like at least one piece of art in their life, and like they could be proud of that one piece of art that they made. And like no matter how good or how bad they think it was, it's like, yeah, I made that one thing.
Yeah, I love that. I know there are a lot of artists that watch our show especially, and like I will admit, like I could do more art because I always think about it. I used to do it a lot, and I think I suffer from something that a lot of people suffer with, and it's that whole notion of, well, I'm not that good at it, so why bother doing it? And I know that's a pretty toxic conditioning to have, so I need to
It
unlearn that.
is. It is. Just
I've
make
unlearned it.
art.
I've unlearned it with writing. Now I need to unlearn that with both music and art. But there is something really freeing about just sitting down and doing something artistic. I know one of my dear friends, like we got together, but this was a couple of years ago. We got together and we did like this little mutual art thing because this my friend is an artist and he was teaching me how to like paint this landscape. So like my goal was to watch what he did and try to emulate it to the best of, that I can. And I ended up learning a lot and I ended up really, valuing what I created. And it was really meaningful to be taken out of that moment. And like eventually like I stopped watching what he was doing and I just started doing my own thing and it ended up being like this unique art piece and I got to a point where I wasn't worried about it being good or bad. It just was. By the way, Shayna, don't worry. You're not blabbing too much at all. We love your comments. Shayna
Yeah.
is an artist. Art is Shayna's career.
Heck
And
yeah.
Leo's an artist too. Oh, Leo. Leo's like, your poetry and writing are art. You have been making art still. That's so sweet. Thank you. Shayna's quote. My favorite quote when I'm writing is this: when given ruled paper, write the other way. Ooh,
I like it.
ooh, I do love that. That's really significant. Um, I think this might be a convenient opportunity to start talking about poetry then, since it was transitioned in the comments. I do have an obsession with poetry. I have gotten to a point where I read more poetry than I do novels, which is very odd. Considering I used to be way more about like prose writing, considering I used to write fiction and fan fiction and stuff. But um I think the reason why I'm so obsessed with poetry is because since poetry is a shorter form of writing, I'm able to read a bit of it and then process it. Whereas when I'm reading a book, like a novel, like I feel this pressure to like continue and continue and continue, if that makes sense. It's not the case for every book. But like for poetry, when I'm reading it, I almost have something that like overstimulates me and I need to take a break for a moment. Like for me, that overstimulation is key because that's what triggers me into processing it more. Um, but like I know like my latest fixation with poetry especially has been buying too many books. I had to recently get a new bookshelf because I have so many collections of poems. The other day I had like 5 collections of poems come in the mail and I've just been adding them to my ever-growing list of books to read. But see, the thing is, what I love about poetry also is that I can knock out a collection of poems in like maybe a couple of days if I'm, pacing myself and processing semi swiftly.
I love poetry because you can sit there and think about poetry and like you'll read a poetry book and like you'll think about it for a little while, but then you'll come back to poetry like maybe like a week later or like a month later or even like 6 months later and you can think about it like completely differently and like but you'll keep coming back to it.
Yeah, exactly. And like it just some like when you're reading poems like I always like to use like a reader response form of method when I'm interpreting them, and like I apply it to like my own experiences, and it usually helps me learn a lot about myself. But I like reading poetry because I think poems, much like art, are snapshots of the writer's life. They're extensions of the writer's being, and I ultimately feel like I'm learning about another human being on a very personal level when I'm reading their poetry. Not to mention, another reason why I am very obsessed with reading poetry is because reading other people's work helps me better write my own work. And a lot of different writers or teachers or publishers will tell you this. If you want to improve your work, you need to read other people's work. Just like if you're an artist, like if you want to improve your craft, looking at other people's methods and looking at other people's art is a very good way of doing it, and then practicing it yourself, right? Um, so I think that's another important aspect of our personal obsessions with like artisticness, especially because like I think many artists have to feel personally obsessed with their art in order to commit to their art, lest we often put it on the back burner and relegate it as being something that's not important, if that makes sense. So in that instance, personal obsession I think is extremely important.
How many
Oh,
books do you think you have?
do I have? Oh hell. Um,
If you could put a
collections
number
of
on it.
for collections of poems, I have probably over 120 or so. Um, I guess if I include anthologies of poems, probably close to 150, because I have full collections of like say the collected works of Walt Whitman, the collected works of Theodore Roethke. Um, what's the other collection of work that I just bought? Seamus Heaney. I bought a collection of Seamus Heaney's poetry. Um, and then of course I've been buying like I bought your collection. I've been buying like other alien. I just bought Jared Morningstar's new collection, American Reality. So I
You
like
need to buy his new one, yeah.
shameless plug for Jared if he ever watches this. Um, so like honestly, I think that getting my own book published has made me more apt to buy other people's collections of poetry, because one of my other personal obsessions has been writing reviews for people. I've realized that I really love writing reviews. It's so fun to me. And I look at it as like contributing something meaningful to others, but I also look at it as sharpening my own writing craft, because I think as writers, like some degree of versatility is important, right? So look at me personally obsessing and going long-winded about this topic.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of reading his wife's book, Amanda's poetry book.
Mm. Um, The Space Between Universes, that's what it's called, right?
Right.
Amanda Morningstar, Jared Morningstar's wife, is a phenomenal writer as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the comments really quickly. Shayna's like, buying too many books is a myth. Arby says that you can never have too many books either. Thank you all for this validation. Leo, y'all want to know how many umbrellas I got in my collection? Yeah, please tell us. Ari, what is your next personal obsession?
Ooh, I'm obsessed with hiking. I
Ooh.
I wish that I could hike all the time, but the trails get overrun in the winter, so I have to like put a stop on the winter time. But I will usually go hiking, usually from early spring until late uh, late November. Uh, and I love hiking. I just love putting the boots on, getting out on the trail, just going for a walk, and just enjoying nature, getting out there, seeing what's out there.
You know,
And I
I
have
really I
oh,
love it
sorry.
too. Oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really love hiking too. Like it's like I very much like any personal obsession I have that's involves creativeness or being outside is usually a form of escape. So hiking for me, like in the wintertime, I don't do it as much either, but in the spring and summer and fall, I do hike quite a bit myself. Or bike riding. I do enjoy bike riding too. Are there any other outdoorsy things that you are personally obsessed with?
I love so I usually will take my camera around and take photos. I'm actually working on an art book right now, a couple art books. But usually what I do is I'll do what Shayna describes as urban exploration. So I'll take photos of like places around towns and cities and use my camera to document my experiences.
I love that.
And I just, yeah. I'm trying to get photos for one of the series that I'm doing called Lift Your Head to the Heavens, where it's pictures only looking up.
Ooh, that's interesting. Like it's interesting that you mentioned the like kind of documenting your life. Um, one of my huge personal obsessions, I'm surprised I didn't write this one down before, but you mentioning this reminded me of it. I love journaling. I could journal until the end of time. I journal online, I journal in a handwritten journal, I journal in several different places. And I guess one could argue that even YouTube is kind of like a video journal of sorts. Um, like I like being able to look back at how much I've grown, how much I've changed, what I was thinking about in a particular moment like 10 years ago. Like for some reason it makes me feel like pieces of myself are out there for some reason and then that really validates me. Um so yeah, like I know I could talk at length about journaling forever.
So let's talk about it. I love journaling too. I use Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, which is 3 pages a day. And so I'll fill up a notebook on one page where I'm going forward. And then what I'll do is I'll flip the notebook over so the other pages are flipped the other way. And then I'll go back through the other way and I'll fill the notebook completely.
That is so cool. That definitely saves paper for sure.
Yeah.
So are
Uh,
these like on yellow legal pads?
no, these are in notebooks. Right now I'm using, here, I'll show you my most recent journal. Right now I'm using just a regular notebook. But most of the time I'll use sketchbooks. Let me show like what I usually use. I usually use like plain paper sketchbooks like this.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very big pieces of paper. Like it takes a lot to fill them. No lines. Uh, quite hefty. Quite filling. It takes a long time to do the artist pages, several hours. Um, so it takes up quite a bit of my day. But what happens is that I just will like kind of mentally just throw out whatever ideas are coming to mind, and it just is like a mental vomit of whatever I'm thinking about in these
Hmm.
pages. So whatever I'm thinking about just kind of goes on the page, it just gets put down, and then later on I can go back and like this is what I was thinking about. This is what I was doing. And like, this is what was important to me on that day.
Yeah. I definitely relate with that. I like, um, I really enjoy, like, if we're going to connect certain personal obsessions, I love hiking and taking my journals with me and placing myself in a specific location and doing some journal writing. Um, like, it's just something about the space, that is that your travel journal?
Yeah, this is my little thinking journal.
I have, okay, I have my personal journal.
It's
I
got
don't know
my
what,
little my ferry ticket for the Isle Royal on it.
oh my God, yes. Yeah, I think I've shown this one before. This is my personal journal. I actually lately I've been using this to document a lot of like therapy experiences. Like I will take it with me to therapy sessions, and that's been very helpful. And then of course I think I've shown this one too before, but I do have a separate journal for poetry that I keep. I also, you'd be proud of me, started a sketch journal. I've not been using it like I should, but I have one. That's important. That's an important
See, your
first step.
covers, RP's right. Your covers are like really like fun. Mine are just all like black and like seriously like nondescript, but yours are like I've got like these like really fancy covers and like fun
Um,
designs.
it's because that's one of my other personal obsessions. One of my favorite moments is when I finish a journal and I get to go shop for another one. I will spend hours in Barnes and Noble picking out the right one. It's
Right.
ridiculous, but it's fun. Like I'll have people come around like, "Do you need help finding something?" And I'll be like, "No, I'm just feeling them out." And then they're like, "What's wrong with this person?" Nothing is wrong with me. Please just let me obsess. I, I swear. And then I end up buying one and it ends up being like $40. It's a good thing that, I mean, yeah, they're expensive, but they last me. Like the one that I showed you that has like the tie on it, like that I've had since like 2012.
Mhm.
And I think the reason why it takes me so long to fill up journals is because I will journal in many different locations. Like sometimes online is more convenient for me. So like obviously if I journal online, then that's not an entry that goes in my book and that doesn't fill up the book. So
See, and for me, I just put everything in the book and I won't put it online.
mhm.
So for me, I have to use the cheaper versions because it's like I'm constantly writing things down. So I need that cost effectiveness of like something nondescript, something easy, something like $10 or less to so I don't worry about the cover because it's just gonna go in the and if I have then usually what I'll do is I'll decorate the cover anyway with my own design.
Mhm.
Like I use I have stickers and stuff that I put on it.
I love that though. Like you use that as an opportunity to like extend your artistic like capabilities in that form. I love it. Leo says, I'd recommend you guys try to get some archival ink pens to write with, like a pen with India inks, because normal ink pens will fade. India inks will let your writing last more than a lifetime. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. Hmm. Wow. Ari, what is the oldest journal you have?
It goes back to 2009, 2008.
Same here. Well, unless you count my online journal. My online journal goes back to 2004. But my like physical, like oldest physical journal is 2008 or 2009.
And
Do you
it's about like
remember?
this thick.
I think I remember it actually. Do you remember when we used to get together in college and we would just write journals and stuff like that? I miss those days. That was fun.
All days.
Damn it. So what other, okay, so do we have any, I know we're like getting closer on time here. So do you have any other personal obsessions you want to mention?
Um, oh boy, we're coming down to it.
I do have a couple more that I could
I
mention
have a
too.
couple unhealthy obsessions. I'm unhealthily obsessed right now, that have been living rent free in my head. Like, I am unhealthily obsessed with the fact that like Donald Trump has been acquitted, and like I'm not happy about it still. And like that's been an unhealthy obsession that I've been like thinking about, like that he has been acquitted and like he is he might run for president in 2 years. Like that's been an unhealthy obsession that I've been thinking of, and like that's been going through my head. Like he's just gonna run in 2 years.
I like I can understand that though. Like I would say that one of my unhealthy obsessions right now is just really fixating on like because I've been just thinking nonstop about how we've socially declined in our country in the sense that like hate has been given a platform and it's been accepted. Like it gets my anxiety going and I know that it's something that I shouldn't fixate on constantly because it's not a healthy thing to fixate on, but dang.
Yeah. So I have unhealthy obsessions. Those are my unhealthy obsessions. Those live rent free in my head, and I'm like, "Whoo, boy, that's not so good." But yeah, that's I've been thinking about those a lot lately. That like it's like he got acquitted. It's like how did that happen? How did we get here that that like he did that stuff and like he got away with it again? And like there's video footage of it, and like they did really a lot of damage. Like there's video footage of all the damage he did, and like he still got away with it. And like
Yeah.
he didn't even get like a slap on the wrist. Like it was just like full stop acquitted. And then like Mitch McConnell was like, somebody needs to do something about it. And like he had the power to do something about it. And like full stop, like rent free in my head. Like he's
Like it just the predictability of all of it is very unsettling to me.
oh my god, Shayna. My unhealthy obsession is my desire to go random nodding to my intent to find morgues. Oh, random nodding.
Leo's comment too, my unhealthy obsession, all the Elder Dragon daddies in the Spyro Reignited trilogy. I love you guys.
I tried to go random nodding and it always send me to people's houses. And I'm like,
Oh
I'm not
God.
going into somebody's house to find whatever I'm looking for. Like, I'm not gonna go into their house to like find this object. Like I said, spoon once, and it was like, go into this person's house and go into their drawer. And like, no,
Oh
you
my
were supposed
God.
to send me to a random lot or something. I don't know, like, or send me to like a sign that said spoon or something. Like, you're not supposed to send me into people's houses, weirdo.
Oh my God. That's funny. So RB commented asking if we heard about Rush Limbaugh. Yes, I did hear about that.
Good riddance.
I like obviously like I have a very difficult time with Rush Limbaugh because of how troubling he's been toward a lot of people, especially the LGBTQ plus community.
He used to
And
put air horns and like whistles every time somebody died of AIDS on his
yeah, like it's now don't get me wrong, like I mean, like obviously I hope that he didn't suffer or anything because like as a human being and all that jazz, but I really do believe, I don't know if this is like something karmatic that I believe in, but I always have believed that if you are going to dedicate your entire life to hurting people, that like a rubber band, it's just going to snap back at some point, you know. Um and it's just sad, like it's going to take a long time to undo a lot of the damage that someone like that has done, you know. But yeah, we definitely did hear about um Rush Limbaugh. My grandma that I was really really close to used to listen to Rush Limbaugh every single day. So I literally grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh, and I remember listening to some of what he would say and I'd be like, "Wow, like what?" Like even as a
one less
kid I
hate
was like,
monger on the radio.
"Uh."
One less hate monger on the radio.
Mhm. So, um so let's end on a discussion question. How does that sound, Ari?
Sounds good.
So sometimes our personal obsessions can really, like if we're the only person in a group of people that has that specific personal obsession, it can be kind of, I don't know, marginalizing in a certain way. What advice do you have for people who have like personal obsessions of like hobbies or whatever? Like, what advice do you have for those people who feel different based on what they love?
Um, do what you love and don't worry about the rest. Like, if somebody is gonna judge you based on what you love, like, first of all, they're not a very good friend. Like, because, you know, if they love, like, if you keep doing what you love, eventually you're gonna find the people who are going to cheer you on for your obsessions and are going to obsess about the same things you are. um, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find the people who like the same things you do. Like for me with hiking, I go with my sister, and we find people who also hike, and we all talk about being hikers. And so you eventually will find more hikers when you do the hiking. Um, with you, Donny, you found people in the Godzilla fandom because you started a Godzilla fan site. So it's like eventually you will find the people who uh, match your interests, and you will form a community. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of work sometimes, but eventually you will find them.
I think that's phenomenal. Like to add to that too, like if you surround yourself with the right people, even if they don't share in the same like obsession or hobby or fixation you may have, they'll learn to appreciate it if they really care about you. Like I know like with my partner, like we have drastically different obsessions. Like I am way more obsessive than he is. So like he knows, like he will come home sometimes with Godzilla stuff for me, you know, like because he knows that that will make me happy. And like I obsess over like Lady Gaga, Evanescence, like music that he doesn't even like. But he learns to like appreciate that those are two aspects of me. And I think when you and I this is the case with many of my friends too. So I think if you surround yourself with the right people, those people aren't going to make you feel shame or make you feel less for what you love. They're going to encourage it. They're going to like think of that as being crucial aspects of you. And I think that's important. So, all right. So that wraps up our show for today. Next week we are going to have a live poetry reading. That's going to be episode 31. So that's going to be fun. We're really looking forward to that. We may have a couple of guests, so we'll see what happens. But as always, thank you for joining us. thank you for being with us 30 episodes in. We are going to keep doing this so long as we keep having ideas and keep loving it. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. So, anyway, we love you and have a good night. Bye.
Bye.